Aloha, I'm Jack Dugan, and this is Hawaii Tourism Now. Today we talk with Mayor Victorino to get his thoughts and ideas about Maui County's tourism industry. Aloha, Mayor Victorino, thank you so much for your time today. This is Hawaii Tourism Now with Pacific Media Group. We'd like to ask you a few questions about Maui's tourism industry.
Aloha and welcome, and thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure, Mayor. Okay, we'll start off with the first question. So some people say Maui will be just fine without tourism and are not eager for it to return. While many local residents here also are very concerned about visitors bringing the virus from outside of the state. How critical is tourism to Maui, to the overall economy here in Maui, and how long can Maui survive without tourism?
Well, let me say it in this manner. Tourism has been an integral part of our society for well over 45 years. We moved from an agriculturally based economy to a hospitality based economy. And our forefathers knew that one day agriculture, the way it was done with the plantation setup, would be gone. And they were correct. You know, shipping and transportation and other factors made it very difficult to continue raising large sums of crops unless you consume them here, which we have moved on. And as you can look, I have started a tourism authority, which was based upon these changes that I could foresee in the future. Right now, the visitor industry is our #1 economic engine. And without it, you can see the devastation. 37,000 unemployed people here in Maui County. Never thought I dreamed that. Every hotel is closed, pretty much so, except a few more smaller ones that remain open for essential workers and other types of accommodations. Mm-hmm. So, can we last long without the visitor industry? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. All that being said, we are looking for a new normal, a new norm here for Maui County.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Thank you. So, in simple terms, so our audience can understand, how big is Maui's tourism industry? You mentioned 37,000 people in unemployment in Maui County. It sounded like, I don't presume that's all from the visitor industry. Was that number just for the visitor industry or all unemployment?
Well, let's put it this way. 90% of that number is directly or indirectly connected to the visitor industry. Oh. They're closed because there are no visitors coming. And there's a lot of ancillary services, such as activities, cleaning businesses, landscaping businesses that have relied on the visitor industry because they were contractually working for hotels and condominiums. And without the visitor coming in, a lot of that has gone to the wayside. So they're unemployed. Yet they don't work for the hotel. They don't work for a direct corporation like Hyatt or Sheraton or anything like that. However, look at the number of restaurants that have closed. Merriman's, Mama's Fish House, Hailey Miley General's store, and others that won't reopen until we get some visitors coming here. There's not enough local residents to support these restaurants. And let's be very honest. Most of our local residents, when you're talking 37,000 unemployed, they don't have the money. Right. We've got to be able to create jobs for them. Bringing back our visitor industry with quality, not quantity. Maui was set up for high-end visitors, long-term spending visitors. They come for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. That's why timeshares are so important. Why do you think timeshares were proliferated all over this island? Because people wanted to stay for long periods of time and have some kind of ownership. So we have a new norm. But let me give you some statistics. In 2019, $5.1 billion was spent here in Maui County by the visitor industry. $5.1 billion. In 2018, $5 billion was spent in the visitor industry. Now, did we overtax our island? I probably have to say yes, absolutely. We grew too fast. We went from quality to quantity, more and more and more. And we were, you know that, going to Lahaina, the road was always like gridlock. Going to Hana, it was like a nightmare. Look at the airport right now. there is a sea of rent-a-cars sitting all around the airport. We realize now we have gone really to the extreme. Well, COVID-19 has given us an opportunity to step back, look at what we're doing, and how can we redo the new Maui County as far as the visitor industry and other diversifying our economy at large.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for all that. So what are some of the key factors that you and other elected officials will be paying attention to as you consider reopening tourism? What needs to happen before tourism can reopen?
There'll be a number of steps that need to be taken. We need, first of all, to have some kind of methodology to make sure that people coming in are healthy. Some kind of test methodology, and that's where I agree with the Lieutenant Governor, Josh Green, and other medical experts, having some testing before they arrive here to make sure they're not sick, to make sure we continue ramping up our testing right here in our local community, to make sure that one case cannot spread and make clusters like we had earlier this year and create a whole new challenge for us. Because our medical facilities, even though we're trying to better equip them with ventilators and other medical equipment, with what we have here, we couldn't take a major outbreak. So going back to the visitor coming in, we've got to make sure they're healthy and safe, because also they want to know they're coming to a safe and healthy place. So these are some of the first step. Once we have a methodology of checking them before they get here, have new ideas and new methods of transportation. Do they want to all jump in rental cars and go wherever they want? Maybe that's got to be curtailed for a while. That fleet of rental cars out there, my vision is half, if not less, of those vehicles being driven around our roadways. That will still make for congestion, but a lot less than what we've seen in the past. Mm-hmm. The other areas is our hotels. How do they market themselves? How they present themselves? How they sanitize? How they protect their workers as well as protect the guests as they check in? Let me give you some examples. Maybe there'll be no valet parking. You come in and you drop your suitcases. Then you park the car, come back, you check in. The bellman with gloves and masks take your bags to your room, but leave it outside of the door. You take it in, so they never enter your room. Restaurants, people will be wearing gloves, will be wearing masks, social distancing. I can imagine just a different methodology of how aloha is shared and the way we will conduct business. It's an endless process. We're going to be watching a new norm unveil. But remember, after 9/11, we had the same thing happen. People weren't traveling. They were afraid, right? It took us a year or two before we could figure out how to travel and how to travel safely. So we're going to have to work on it. But this time, we have an invisible enemy. And this is much more difficult to solve because this invisible enemy can enter at any means to any person at any time.
Right. Thank you. So testing was a key part of that answer as far as what needs to happen before the visitors can return. Do you see that happening soon on a certain timeline? How much progress has been made on that from what you know?
Testing has come a long ways. We're now entering the phase of rapid testing and antibodies. I think the antibodies really mix for some very interesting dynamics when it comes to the medical profession. Also, the development of a vaccine. Until something like that is completed and there is some certainty out there, it will always cause some real discomfort in people's mind when you go somewhere and if you're not treated, you don't have a vaccine or a shot to protect you. Like we developed for polio, like we developed for malaria and other diseases that at one time were just as devastating as the COVID-19. Mm-hmm. With that being said, there is so many steps that's still ahead of us. I don't foresee us bringing back a lot of tourists for the next 6 months, maybe a year. I'm not sure exactly what the timetable will be. I also can say the economy has been beat up all over the world and the nation. So people are they're not just ready to jump on a plane and go somewhere. Also, the safety of the airlines. This is going to be very paramount. And you've been watching, like me, how the airlines are trying to develop new travel strategies, how to distance or social distance within a plane, which I don't know when you're breathing the same air. You and I both know that's pretty hard to social distance. Also, wearing masks and having other protective equipment on you when you travel. There's so many dynamics that I could spend the next 3 hours going over many ideas that I've read about, talked about, been informed about from medical experts throughout the world. I spend a lot of time, sometimes 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, watching the World Health Organization's reports, the CDC reports, and all the different aspects. I will say this way, I do not want another one. I don't want like what's happening in Korea right now and other places where they reopen too quickly, get going, bring back their economy, and bam, get a relapse, and they're right back to square one, and maybe even further back than they were. So to protect the public is my number one priority, but to bring visitors back, number two, and a close number two to number one. We've got to work in tandem.
Yeah, and that leads to my next question, which is, how do we manage this predicament? Which is, on one hand, we need to carefully stave off the visitors from coming back too quickly and causing outbreaks here in our county and in the islands. How do we manage that with the other, on the other hand, where, as you said, visitors, tourism is an integral part of our local economy. There's many people unemployed, directly, indirectly affecting the entire economy. How do we manage that?
That's the $1 billion question. That's the trick. That's the balance I talk about all the time. Right now, we need to continue to reopen our local economy slowly but surely. At the same time, as we bring in the visitors and we have methods of protecting not only our residents, but the visitor coming in, bringing them in small quantities in certain areas. Our forefathers also had the insight of developing Anapali, developing Wailea. We don't have hotels all over the place. We have them in concentrated areas. So it's a little easier to keep track of, to keep monitoring what they do. Mm-hmm. Having the ability and policies in place that if there's any type of outbreak, if there's any type of warning that, hey, this metric has been met and now we got 10 new cases today and 5 tomorrow, boom, shutting it down and say, everyone, sorry, we're closing the gates, you got to go home. We've got to make sure the policies are in place. It's not an easy situation, but diversifying our economy, whether it's like this photonics, I should say. They are building ventilators. They've got requests now from Mexico, United Kingdom, and other countries all over the United States. Different states are looking to buy. We've got a burgeoning industry that could make for nice jobs, well-paying jobs, and not dependent on the visitor industry. But again, the medical field. So looking for diversification, our agricultural business, who is so strong in the area of feeding our visitors and the hotels, they've turned their attention to some of the programs that I've introduced to now feeding the people, the residents of Maui County. So now we have an agricultural business that we can continue to push forward. That won't hire a lot of the 37,000 people, but if they take 1,500 or 2,000 in the overall scheme, that's that many more people back to work and off the unemployment rolls. Mm-hmm. As we set up our opening with all the various hotels, making sure that these workers go back in phases, that they're healthy and protected, that they'll feel comfortable so that they can spread the aloha. But it's a phased-in growth. It's a phased-in development of what the new economy will be. It will take time. It will not happen tomorrow, but it will happen if we are committed to making sure that we protect our people, our visitors, and we can have what I call the new norm, whether it's wearing masks, social distancing, good hygiene, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It can be done, and you know what? It will be done.
Got it. Thank you. So you talk about how Maui was originally set up for a certain type of visitor, a certain type of traveler. and it sounds like a certain demographic, and you speak to the amount of money they're spending, how long they're staying, and then talking about a new norm and rebuilding tourism. What does that look like? It sounds like a quality versus quantity sort of reality. Another way to put it, if I understand you correctly. What does that look like? What might Maui tourism look like in the future under this new model?
Under this, and it's not really a new model, it's going back to the future. This is the way our forefathers originally had set up Maui County for, and Maui itself, for the high-end visitor who came here and spent quality time, were more or less willing to spend money to enjoy a great experience and not tax all our resources. And that's what our forefathers had envisioned Maui County to be, especially Maui Island. That's why Ka'anapali and Wailea were designated as tourist or hospitality industry areas. You know, they didn't want to build hotels upcountry. They didn't want to build hotels in central Maui. They wanted these accommodations built in areas where the visitor could have a great experience, enjoy everything about Maui, but not have to really leave the area. Now that's changed because of social media. Social media now showed a different Maui. Go here, go there. Look at this beautiful waterfall. Look at this beautiful beach, and some of it was not accessible to people, and yet you had people going in there, getting hurt, getting lost. I mean, you know, and I know how many people were rescued each and every year throughout this island and this county. And so now we've got to step back and make sure that the picture we show is of the vacation destination. Yes, we will now have other opportunities to expand that vacation destination, but keep it where we attract those who want to come, who really will be able to afford coming here and have, like you said earlier, quality, not quantity. Because I think this is the new norm we're looking at, which is really going back to what our forefathers had set Maui County up for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very interesting. It's especially interesting because I recall, I think in our our meeting we had with you several months ago, before COVID, us talking about messaging for the visitors, and you know, the kuleana, the respect, and the following the rules and all this stuff. And so now here we are 3 months later, having an entirely different dynamic, but a similar discussion, though it's been a more natural process that's put us where we're at today, and this all being forced into play.
Well, I think, again, COVID-19 has done some of that for us. It's made us feel vulnerable. You know, as human beings, we're not invincible. There are diseases out there that none of us have thought of and have come out of nowhere and has been devastating. I trust each industry that makes the hospitality industry work will come together and start looking for the new norm. But we got to work together. It's not somebody, and this is the way it's going to work. Those people out there that don't want the visitor to come back, they're absolutely crazy. We can't live without them. But better quality and less quantity, I agree. Making sure we protect our people, give them opportunities, not only in the hospitality industry, but other industries that can help make Maui County strong economically as well as environmentally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for that. My last question, and then I'll turn it over to you for anything else you want to say to the audience here, is, you know, you talk about, there's so many moving parts. You know, there's things that are developing every day, obviously. And you talk about a slow return of tourism, you know, during this time with testing coming online and all the different factors. And then also talk about a new norm and a new reality for tourism. And of course, a lot of our audience is sitting here wondering what's going to happen to their job. When will it come back? Will it come back? And these questions. Is there a resource that the county, you talk about maybe new industry opportunities? Is there anything developed today, or is that maybe coming in the future, a resource where people can go to learn about other opportunities if, say, they don't have a place to return to work?
We are looking at setting up a new industrial diary, if you want to use that term. Job opportunities that may be developing because of different industries that we are kind of looking upon. We know that there's a number of technology jobs and aerospace jobs that are looking to come to Maui County in particular and build facilities. We had that with the tech park down in Kihei, and there's now a real strong sense of importance that these businesses need to expand, and Maui is at the forefront of this. We have the tech park, but we need to add more facilities in that area and housing so that people can work there and live there and not have to go and transfer or traverse all over the island. Again, training our kids to be ready for this, the STEM program and other programs that we've been working on for a number of years, another opportunity. So we keep our young people, we always talk about the brain drain. Well, these are keeping the young people here with good paying opportunity, with jobs. They can live here, raise their families here, and enjoy what we enjoy. With all of these different features that we're going to be bringing out in a not too distant future over the next 6 months to a year, will give people hope. But I believe that's always something Hawaii has been, Maui County, resilient, ready to step up, making the change that needs to be made, and being strong, Maui strong, stronger than ever.
Got it. Thank you so much. Mayor, is there anything else you'd like to say to our audience before we close out here?
I will say this. The good Lord has given us another opportunity to look at life. The changes that will come about will be better for all of us. We've got to embrace change. And change comes, and sometimes we fight it more than we embrace it. But I'm asking people to really look at the new norm, the new normal of Maui County, the new normal of the state of Hawaii and the United States, and probably the world. I'll say this. You start traveling in, let's say 2 years from now, you start traveling, it'll be a different travel industry. Everything will be different, not just here in Hawaii, but anywhere else we go in the world. People have learned that there is a hidden enemy called COVID-19. However, there are many more hidden enemies, many other types of diseases and viruses that could promulgate now, because every time mankind creates a drug or creates a solution to one, something else pops out. We've had SARS, we've had the H1N1. I mean, you and I both know it. Just in the last 20 years, we've had many outbreaks throughout the world. But Hawaii has been blessed by being protected from it. And we are still blessed because of our isolation. We have been protected. But now we've got to all step up to the plate. There are going to be some sacrifices. There's going to be some pain in the change. But once we get past that, we will see a new, better Maui County, not only for the visitors who come here, but for the residents who live here.
Thank you so much, Mayor Victorino. It's truly a pleasure. Thank you for your time. And I hope
My pleasure. My pleasure. God bless you, and aloha to everyone out there. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you. Aloha.